Hello, welcome to this video on conditional statements. It'll be the first of two videos, also called if statements. So in this tutorial, we're going to see how if statements allow us to respond to a value of true or a value of false by doing something. So they allow us to check if it's true or false and do something accordingly. So that's if, if, and else. And then we're also going to see the or operator. And so let's jump right into it. Let's start by looking at our code and remembering what we did last time. So we have this key code A in input.getKey. That's going to give us true if A is being held. And so we can say, well, if A is being held, then we want to do something. We want to move the player left, for example. So let's start by responding to this only if it's true. I'm going to put the rest of these input statements in a block comment. So it's /* opens the block comment, and you need to say when it ends. I'm actually going to put transform.translate in that as well. So */ and now all of this is a block comment. And now here we're going to respond to this input.getKey if A is being held down by wrapping this in an if. So I'm going to say if, open up a bracket, parenthesis, and close the parenthesis on the other side of this whole line. And there's no semicolon here after an if. You go if, close parenthesis, and underneath you're going to put an open curly bracket, and it'll automatically put the closing one there in Visual Studio. And if you press enter right now, it'll automatically format it. And this is proper formatting for these brackets, where you have the one bracket directly underneath and the one bracket kind of later on lined up vertically under the opening one. And then if I put my cursor between these two, on the line between those two, it'll automatically indent it over, and that's 4 spaces by default. And so this is how you want to format it. Now once in a while you'll see the curly bracket starting here, and that's okay as well. It's just depending on your style. But personally, I like to put it right under the if. And so here we're going to say if this statement is giving me a value of true, then I want to do something. So let's test it to make sure it's going to work. Let's put pressing A underneath there. So I'm going to save that, and let's see what the result of this is when I hold A down and I'm running. So once it reloads, okay, it's reloaded. Let's press play and notice that nothing's being printed anymore. If I hold down the A key, then down here in my little bar, or if I go to console, you can see it bigger. Hold down A, you're going to get this message being printed. And as soon as I let go, notice there's no new messages coming in. I can even press clear. See, there's no new messages. Now as soon as I start pressing A again, it starts being printed. So that's great. Now all we need to do is, instead of printing a message, let's actually move the player. And so I should just make this your challenge starting here. So let's pause right now. Your challenge for this video is to make the player move left or move right when A is pressed or when D is pressed. And then what I want you to do is, because you're going to have a second if statement, is change the second if statement to else if, and see if there's a difference and what the difference is. And then you could even go a step further and see if you can accommodate both the A and D keys to move left and right, and the arrow keys to move left and right. So I'll get you to pause the video and try this challenge. All right, welcome back. So good job trying the challenge. First of all, let's just see how we can move the player left when we press A. So I'm going to take away this closing */ for the block comment. I'll put it after these input statements, and I'll move my player forward again. And let's copy this line, and I'm going to put that inside this if statement. And now this one moves the player forward, vector3.forward. If you take away forward and do dot, you'll see there's other options, and one of them is left. Now left is going to move the player left if you're kind of facing forward, or if you're in a forward, I guess if your player is moving in the positive z direction in the world, then this is left. And so let's just save that and try this. Okay, so press A, and sure enough, I move left. And if you're not sure in the game view, you can look in the scene here, and you can see when I press A, sure enough, the player moves left here. You can always restart it and try again, or make your path longer so you can keep seeing how the player's moving. The player's moving left. Now let's copy this whole section, and I'm going to change this A to D. And here, instead of moving left, let's move right. And that's all we're going to change for A and D. And sure enough, we can move left and right with A and D. What if you hold them both at the same time? Let's restart it. If I hold them both down, you actually don't get movement in the end. Why is that? It's because first we move the player a little bit left, then we move the player a little bit right. So the difference with adding else if here is that else if makes it so that only one of these is going to run at one time. If this one is true, we skip over this block. But if this one is false, then we check this block. And so let's put else if in, and we'll see how that makes it so that we can only press one of them at a time. In fact, neither of them are working now, so we must have done something a little bit wrong. And for some reason it's working again now, so I'm not sure what that was about. But yeah, we can move our player left and right there. Okay, so that's else if. I'll show you else here as well. I'll put a debug.log. And before we put something in there, let's talk about what this is. So if is going to check this condition and do this run this line of code if this condition is true. And if that's true, then we're going to skip everything else underneath it, all the else ifs and all the elses. But if this one is false, like we're not pressing A, then we're going to check if we're pressing D in this else if. And if that one's true, then we skip all the ones underneath that one. We just do transform.translate right. Now else shows up here if everything above it has turned out to be false. So we're not pressing A, we're not pressing D. Okay, let's just do else, which is going to say not pressing A or D. So that's just a message that's going to print. Hopefully we see that that works. Okay, it's reloaded. Let's press play. And so we're getting this message being printed all the time because we're not pressing A or D. As soon as I press A, okay, and I'm holding it down, the message is not printing anymore. And I let go, and the message keeps being printed. So that's else. Now let's see what one way is that we could accommodate the left and right arrows in addition to this. This is the last part of the challenge. So one way I could do this is copy this if else and just put it underneath. So let's change this one to left arrow and change this one to right arrow. And this one here is going to say right arrow. This one here is going to say left arrow for our comment. And so now we have checking for A and D and left arrow and right arrow. So let's try that and make sure that works. Okay, arrow keys works, A and D works. Now watch what happens if I hold the A for left and the arrow for left. Notice my player actually moves twice as fast. So that's a cool thing maybe, but probably not what you want. Is for a speed boost to happen when you press both. Now that could be a design choice, but probably you want to give them the option A or left arrow. So one thing I can do is I can, instead of saying if here, I can say else if. So if we have if, then this right here is one chain of if else if. And that chain ends as soon as we start a new if. here's a new chain. So we're possibly going to run one of the lines in here and one of the lines in here. If I put else if, then we're saying this is all one big chain. If, else if, else if, else if. And we're only going to choose one of these lines. So adding one word here, else if, is going to allow us to just say, okay, press left arrow, it'll move, press A, it'll move, but not both of them combining at the same time. Okay, and you may have remembered that at the beginning of the video we said we were going to cover the OR operator. So let's see one more way we can allow the left arrow and right arrow to be used. I'm going to copy this condition for left arrow. Actually, I'm going to cut it, Control X. And I'm going to go right here after input.getKey. I'm going to say OR, but I can't write the OR word. I need to put the double vertical bar. That's above enter, shift above enter. And I'm going to paste that condition. So if input.getKey A or input.getKey left arrow, so if I'm pressing A or left arrow, then do this instruction to move left. And, oh, I swapped my comments around earlier, didn't I? Well, that's okay. And let's take the right arrow. I'm going to say or right arrow. And we can get rid of that second block down there. So this is a bit more compact. True if A or left arrow is held, and this is D or right arrow. And this one should work as well. Let's just test it to make sure. Arrows A and D, it all works. So this way, or the if, else if, else if, else if, they're both good options. There's nothing wrong with either of them. They're just a little bit different. So it's up to you for your personal style for how you want to write that code, and potentially also depending on what you want to do with the code. So that's it for this video. Take a watch over this one again if there's some new content here. This is pretty important stuff for the for conditional statements. In the next video, we're going to continue with conditional statements.